Awesome. My dear friend, Noa. Now, I say your name, Zalle. I have no idea if I even say that correctly.
Actually, you kind of do. In Hebrew, it's Zalle, but it's not in Hebrew. So, it's a name that's originally German or Swiss. So no one can say it correctly here either. So it's okay.
I'm going with the Hebrew line. So I'm going to read a little about you. So you have a Bachelor of Science and a Master's. I presume that is what the MA stands for. You're an energetic healer and facilitator and yoga teacher, and the creator of Zen therapy. It's been amazing watching you do that from a distance. Therapeutic energy that goes beyond distance and allows people from near and far to benefit from the energetic sessions. She also teaches classes of this special Zen therapy, energetic healing classes, and special Yoga Nidra meditation gatherings. We've known each other for a few years now, my friend. Noa actually translated some programs for me into Hebrew. And when you work with someone, especially around consciousness and, self-development and expansion, all of that, and they are translating for you, an incredible connection is created. And we did that for quite some time. So even though we're very far away, we are always connected, aren't we?
Yay.
And so I asked, how I came to do this program was I was asking for input from people, because I was like, do I start to talk about stuff that's going on that's not reported in the mainstream media, and how do I do that without going down holes and stuff, or do I do something completely different? And people had their ideas and just saying what they felt. And when Noa responded to me, that was the point where I thought, I've got to start having conversations with people rather than it be the big name experts, people who are experts in living, because we all are, and have their points of view and their awareness and their deep knowing about stuff. So, Noa, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on. And can you tell us just like where you are, where you live, how's life going where you are?
Well, I live in Israel. Life is going quite okay right now. So pandemic-wise, it's nobody speaks about it anymore, which is really, really cool. And it's springtime, the end of the spring, so it's really pleasant right now. Mm-hmm. So it's a time like also in the calendar for a change. The spring change, the blossom, everything going to this direction of everything opening up. So yeah. I'm trying to ride this wave.
Yeah. Well, that's how it has to be these days, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because there is so much going on, and there's so much information. And like we were talking before we came on the call, and you started to talk about that with social media, etc.
Yeah. Well, actually, during this time, it was really interesting to it's not to discover, but to really everything became obvious. Like, let's say, even social media and so-called regular media or formal media. Here in Israel, we had the media. It was everyone knows that although we are a democracy, the media is controlled by the government in some sort of way. It's something that started to occur in the last government, the last ministry. And during the pandemic rose up many things. So during that time, it was really like the government or all the people, let's say, in charge, they did it more obviously, and like no one was trying to hide anything anymore. And it was really interesting to see like everything that everyone knew happened. You know, it used to happen just underneath the ground, and now it was wide open. And like when you're working with consciousness and you want to be in a certain, you want to be, let's say, like you want to bring light to the world and you want to expand people's worlds. And on the other hand, you see things and you become aware of things and you say, okay, what do I do with it? So I have to admit that at the first time, it makes you like happily angry. I have to say, like you're sort of angry, but you're not really angry because it's sort of entertaining to watch these things happen. Like I'll give you an example. Like there was this part, and I'm bringing it up not to, you know, do pro, cons, all the things that are related to pandemic, but just as an example of things that are rising up to the field and what do you do with them, okay? So here there was, because we were a country where all the vaccinations were like, you know, we were the lab, all the vax were being forgot the word, but people were given vax and they were really pushed towards the vax, and there was a really massive pressure to do that because the world was waiting for results from here to see, are they safe, aren't they safe, what's going on with that. So there were people that were starting to assemble rallies and protests to say, let us choose. Okay, let's go for the choice. Okay, don't bring it on to us. Don't impel this. Don't push this. Let's be pro-choice. And the mainstream media, there was nothing there about it. There were big rallies and they happened every week. Nothing reported about it. And social media, like people uploaded things, but also Facebook erased things and closed people accounts. So they started to do things in codes and everything. So it was these two things. And you know, you're sitting there and you're watching this and you're saying, okay, where am I in this? Like, I'm aware of one, what people are actually doing, like the protests, there were many beautiful things, some of them not so beautiful, some of them were very extreme, like people. And and you see all the press and that everything is just being directed by someone, what can be published, what cannot be published. And even when someone published a little bit through pro-choice, there was always the last line in the article, like it's not connected, like, but the vaccines are very important and you should do them, blah, blah, blah. So you're wondering, okay, the first thing for me is like, okay, you react, you say, how can they not see it? How do they not report it? But then you say, okay, where am I in this? And how do I not taking this into narrowing my, because actually when you go into reaction, then you're not in creation. Like, and it, you know, all this anger builds up, or if not anger, then excitement. How do I contribute to this, you know, struggle and whatever? And I realized today, I realized it a long time ago, but I think, in my point of view, everyone has sort of a role in life or in lives. And there are those people who go and fight and who raise awareness in these certain ways, like, this is happening, you have to know this, or let's protest, or it's not my job. Okay, I have a different job, and I have the job to raise the awareness, but then to see, okay, what is it, and how can I expand, and how can I work on my magic into this in order to change it first in my world, because until it's not changed in my world, I can hardly change it in other people's worlds. And then how can I implement it on other people?
Yeah, I really resonate with that, because most of my life I have been a champion of the so-called, in my country, it's the underdog, like the marginalized, people labeled disabled, Indigenous people, young people, who are, we used to call it, well, the government called them youth at risk, they were the naughty ones. I think I was one of those. And I've been really vocal in all of that, and extremely angry at different times. This is many years ago. And so what I've experienced is that is not my job this time. And it has been one of the biggest challenges to not fight, to not be really vocal about this. And for the first time in my life, I really connected and really got that really was not my job. And it's taken me on a really different journey because of that. There's been a lot more self-reflection, and how am I going to navigate through this changing landscape of our world, and it doesn't mean that I don't ever get frustrated. I'm not in the space where I don't ever get affected by it, but it's a very short time that I allow that to be, because I know that I have a choice, and I have the power to create my own reality in this moment. And I guess that's, like people who have been, suppressed, or, I'm thinking the Gandhis of the world, and that kind of thing, where that's how people get through, because they come to that space of not fighting and being very clear about what they think should be, and allowing things to be as they are, because that's really all that we can do, isn't it?
I don't know if it's all that we can do, but it's all that, let's say, people like us can do, or maybe the greatest contribution that we can be. Because like you said, also when I was like in my teens, I come from a family, my grandmother was a pioneer, and they built the country and everything, they were very dominant figures, and you always need to have an opinion and a way and to do things. It's really inspiring. Okay, it's not a bad thing, but I grew up this way. And then, through the years, especially when you're practicing yoga is all the time to observe. You're observing, you're not doing, you're not, leading. You're first of all observing, and then you see, okay, what's here in my field, and what do I do with it, or even do I do with it? It's mostly how I be. I wanted to say be with it, but it's not be with it, it's how I be. So it's a totally different space. And like there are really many important things to bring to awareness. But actually everything exists, you know, in consciousness. Everything is there. The truths, the lies, the conspiracy theories, the conspiracy theories that become the truth, and then you ask, okay, what is the truth? Okay, so even when a conspiracy theory becomes real, I always ask, okay, is this the truth? And if so, if it is the definite truth, although there's no such thing in my point of view, do I have to do something about it? Do I have to react? Or do I just have to be aware and then to adjust my field according to this awareness that I have? And then what? Like the expansion and the being in the question about I think it's the most challenging, but the most important thing, because especially for people like us who want to make things better, who wants to make the world a great place to live in, it's like almost automatically you say, okay, I need to do something about it, or I need to, you know, but okay, I can do something about it, but maybe it can be my way, like the magic way, the energetic way, the transformation in those ways that are not, you know, these realities ways. It's also a way. It's not just, you know, protesting or going to court or you know, signing up signs or whatever. There are so many ways. And the question is, what is each and everyone's way? And also to remember, I have a friend and she's saying, it's funny, we had a talk about this topic just a day before you wrote this post where you asked for our opinions. And she's saying, so this thing exists. So what? I see this way, it's my playground. I enjoy in this playground, and this playground consists of everything. So it's like, what do you put your focus on? If I put my focus on all these things that are, let's call them the conspiracy theories that became real, if I put my focus on them, do I contribute to them changing, or do I just, you know, making the problem bigger by my focus on it? That's another question.
Yeah.
Because usually when you, because usually when you put your focus on something, it becomes greater. It's not actually, not necessarily the solution, but you're creating more of the problem.
Yeah, I remember from, I mean, I think it came out of the 60s, but, you know, if they had a war and nobody came, you know, like,
exactly.
And it is, and it's so, like I was saying before, it's been one of the greatest challenges for me to, because in the past, I wasn't really asking questions about, you know, I was just seeing things and in reaction. And I, too, was brought up in a family with very strong points of view and lots of debate, which quite traumatized me, I'm going to say, but lots of debate, lots of who's going to win that debate and all of that, which I really did find quite horrific. But it managed to infiltrate too. So there was this really like, this is good and this is bad. And then when I went out into the world, I saw that things didn't really work the way that I was taught that they were going to work. And as my experiences opened me up to different things that I had thought were bad or evil, well, they were just different. So that challenge of being able to be present and be the great be word, and not in reaction, and to follow the energy of what is right for you. And I think that's a really big one too. Like, what is right for you? You know, what is that?
And also not to judge yourself by following what is right for you, because, you know, it's more valued to be one that is heard, or one that do things and you see the action, rather than someone that is doing it, you know, maybe more quietly, or maybe in a totally different way that no one gets. Not no one, but, you know, the main society doesn't get. And sometimes I even find myself, you know, saying, why aren't you doing more? Maybe you should go to that, you know, rally, or contribute some more. And actually I tried, there was a group that was meeting, and they were trying to, it was combined of different people. Some of them were trying to raise awareness, and some of them were more active people, like, let's change. And one evening I gave them this sort of special meditation to change the reality. And you could see the people that it created a totally different space for them. And you could see those who are, okay, so what are we doing now? Okay, so now that you've done with your things, let's get to action. So it was really funny.
And I think that comes back to what, as you said before, like, it's someone else's job to gung ho and do it. Like, that's what their role is. I don't look back on what I did in years ago going, oh man, you were so bad, you're so wrong. I do look back and laugh and go, my God, you're so angry. So why are you still here? But, you know, like, I mean, I created some amazing things that really brought amazing change to people's lives, particularly for people that were labeled disabled. You know, I was part of creating some really amazing changes. And so that's, you know, that's fantastic. But it doesn't mean, and that's the thing too, we change, and what is going to create the greatest for us, or, you know, our contribution to ourselves, to all the other people and beings on the planet and with the planet, that will change as well. And so it isn't that a matter of, I think it comes back to, again, presence and not judging, you know, like not judging the people who are protesting, not judging people who are doing the treatment, not judging, allowing people to be who they are.
Yeah, and we need those people, in my point of view. We need the people that bring the awareness in this kind of way, because there are people Absolutely. That can only get the awareness this way. And there are people that need to react in this reality to change things, in this reality, the way this reality works, in order for this also to change. Because everyone is at a different level of consciousness and at a different level of, you know, of their journey. And everyone can get things wherever they can get them. And I think it's really the way it needs to be right now. Like, we're in this transition phase, let's say, from the old world to the new, you know, the new dimension, the new way. So it kind of needs to be both, or everything in this time.
Yeah.
In order for change to occur, so everyone can grab what they can grab and, you know, go this way. I even remember times when I was everything. I was the doer, the reactor, and the magician, without me knowing that I'm the magician yet. Okay, so everything is in the field.
It totally is. I remember some of my early experiences. I had been working in the arts, like performing arts, and as in community cultural development as well. So I was running workshops and doing all that. And I was working with people with voice, and very much exploratory voice and embodiment, but I was not using those terms at all. I had just come from doing performing arts, then becoming a director, at a community level, and this just evolved. And so I was doing these workshops, and I was getting people to sing and sound, and I started putting my hand on people's bodies, and they would be able to sing when they had not been able to allow that sound out before. And I was actually almost like a bit embarrassed and and just trying to downplay it, really. It was a bit of weirdness that was happening, and it was unexpected, and all of that, So it's quite. What were some of your early experiences that opened you up?
Oh, well, the experience that opened me up was my oldest son, which is in the autistic spectrum. And this was actually the time when what I was referring to as being and doing everything. Like I needed to do things in order to push forward, to bring him forward to the high functioning, amazing man he is right now. He's over 20. But I also always knew that magic needs to be there for this to happen. So I took him to an energetic healer. That's where I started to do my own magic. And I did several things which are considered to be like witchcraft, which like, boom, they really made the steps. And I also was reading a lot of science about nutrition supplements, and it was called a biomedical treatment. Back then it was like really the weird people were doing it. Now it's really common. Yeah. I was importing things to Israel, like there were no these special supplements were not available here. I was bringing here non-approved, non-FDA approved things so I can treat it myself. We were doing a bunch of stuff, crazy stuff, but they were all in all different fields, like the doing field, the regular things like, speech therapy, occupational therapy, everything needs to be done. And the way that we wanted to bring him out to the world, which is a method that is more to work with the kid other than to tame him. And we were working a lot with him, and I had this biomedical thing that I was reading around the clock and working with other people, and and we travel abroad for it, and we did all this. And I had the energetic thing in many levels, and this really opened me up to this world. It's like at a certain point I took the therapy to my hands because it just came to me through this process. So I could see all the levels that needed to be done in order to, I don't want to say get the results, but if we're taking this example to a wider thing, like you want to achieve something or you're aware of something that you want to change. So here I had all this reality things, this reality, but unaccepted in this reality things, like the biomedical stuff. Like back in those days, it was, it could be categorized under conspiracy theories, these biomedical things, because it was supposed to treat things that were done due to certain medical treatment that kids get when they're young. So it was like, oh, you're talking shit, it's bullshit, it's a conspiracy, but it worked. So obviously it's not a conspiracy, and now it's almost mainstream.
Yeah.
for treating autism, and I had the magic stuff. So like I had every level of doing and being in this process, and also knowing that I can only contribute what I can contribute, and then let go, because it's not me, it's him.
Yes.
This is a hard one to learn as a parent, but it's something that if you learn it as a parent, then it's easier to see it in every other field. Like, I can contribute what I can contribute, and then I have to let go, because one, not everything is up to me, but second, when you let go, there is this expansion and movement that is not available when you're just pushing and pushing and pushing. Okay, push has its power, and that's okay, and you need it sometimes. You need to be very, I want this, and I'm going to create this. But you need to sense when it's time to let go and allow things to occur on their own, trusting like the first magic or the first seed that you planted, that it's going to grow, and some movement is going to be there. It's going to happen. Not exactly as you thought, not exactly like you planned, but you have to trust. You have to trust and let go. And it's also part of the game.
I love it. I think that is a really great place to leave this. And I would like to invite you back again, because there is definitely more I would like to talk about with you, my friend. This has been really, really cool.
Thank you for having me.
Until next time, thank you for listening.